Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. And I'm kind of continuing on um, from previous episodes this week from kind of building up a little bit of a how-to system with starting training, with nutrition. And now I suppose the next, hurdle people do face is how do I keep consistent with all of this? With training, with nutrition, with fitting it all into life. And this this kind of common thought that they just can't, they won't be able to stick to it this time. And so I thought on this one I'd go through some more like practical stuff as well, because consistency is about action. And actually taking steps on it, like, it just won't happen when you say I'm going to start on Monday or I'm going to start here, there. It actually needs some follow through. So I want to try and give some practical ways in which you can do that. And again, some kind of thoughts and reframes around it. Also, I have two, before I get into it, two small little resources that are free. Link will be here in the bio, or you'll find them on my Instagram, that help with that initial first step with training and taking out that kind of overwhelm of what to do or where to start. And so my simple strength starter, and also on the nutrition side of things, before you even think about changing anything with food, it's looking at what are the common maybe behaviors or habits that you could look at addressing first. And that will help set up a more stable baseline when it comes to your nutrition, and that's called the nutrition baseline. But that's there as well, two little free resources just to help you get things up and running, and I suppose the actionable steps with that that kind of coincide here with a little bit of, well, how do I be consistent with it all? So the first thing I suppose to think of is like, well, what actually is consistency, or what does that mean? Um, and it's not being perfect. It's not trying to get every week perfect, or aiming for perfection, because that's kind of not, that isn't sustainable. Um, when you factor in people's schedules and lives and everything else in between. And what it is rather than people looking at short term, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, span it out over long term, over like 6 months, 3 months, 12 months, beyond that. How consistent can you be, rather than just looking like week to week? Because I say, like, people, there's seasons in life and there's seasons in the year where you'll have more time and you'll have less time, and you'll have more going on and you'll have less going on. And so where can you get this, I suppose, minimal baseline with it all, and not to overwhelm yourself by trying to do it all and get everything ticked off every week. And again, there is going to be times where you will be able to do that, and there will be times where you won't. That's, I think, if you can be more acceptable of that. And again, there just have to be some trade-offs. And again, context matters with goals, but we're just trying to keep this as broad as possibly can. And this comes into this like all or nothing thinking, or way of thinking of this perfection. Um, like one few days where something, sessions don't get done, your training doesn't get done, or something happens, or nutrition is a bit off, doesn't mean it's a write-off. Um, and that's like, or this thing of, oh, I'll start again next week. One bad week or one, bad little period of time doesn't write the whole thing off. Because again, if you zoom out and look at the larger context of it, it's very minimal. And if we can move away from this kind of all or nothing way of thinking, to a more consistent and a flexible approach, to it in your mind first and foremost, and let go of that kind of, I need to be spot on with everything all the time. And yes, there will be times where things will have to get moved around, and there'll be a little bit of changing to get things done. But overall, we should be looking for like an 80% kind of baseline with things rather than like trying to aim for 100%. Because again, as I said before, that's just not feasible or sustainable for people. So I suppose then the actionable things, what can we actually do to try and build consistency? And to me, consistency comes with action. You actually have to go and do stuff. It is won't miraculously happen on a Monday morning. And like motivation, it just won't miraculously be there on a Monday morning. You've got to build it into your habits, into your behaviors, into your lifestyle, into your way of thinking. Um, but there is some things we can do to kind of make that a little bit easier or to give you a little bit of a something to follow, shall we say. Um, so start smaller than you feel necessary. Okay, so we'll take the context of you're ready to get back into the gym, you're ready to get back into some training, you're ready to maybe eventually just have a look at the nutrition side of things as well and make some adjustments there. Maybe you have a goal you've set or something you kind of want to go after, or you just want to get to a point where you're feeling strong and fit and capable again. So start off smaller than you think. Um, that you build a habit first. I'm a big believer in building the habit first. Build the routine, build the habit, build the structure, build how it's going to look first. And don't take on too much too soon. You know, often before in the past, I would ask people this question in a consultation, or we'd be having chats, and oh yeah, I'll do 4 or 5 sessions a week. But when you actually break it down, realistically, they could actually only get 2 done, and that's fine. Because again, it's in context to what they're trying to achieve initially. You're initially just trying to get the groundwork and the foundations in, first. So, give yourself the first month. Okay, what does 2 sessions a week look like with maybe 2 walks a week or 3 walks a week or runs a week or bike cycling, whatever, or swim, whatever. And what does me look like if I maybe get my breakfast, I could do with maybe improving that a small bit. Okay, what does that look like if I start working on that for the first few weeks? And that's it. Start smaller. Don't overload yourself. Because that then brings overwhelm itself and overthinking, and you're trying to undo maybe habits or a way of living, that you've been doing for a good while, and then you're trying to change it, and you're all trying to change it in the first couple of weeks, massively. You know, ease yourself into it and start building up again. Zoom out long term and what we're initially trying to look at here. And again, know your, as I said, your minimum effective dose. That kind of links in with that too. Like, what's the minimum you can do that will get done no matter how busy a week looks? And, that could be 1 session and getting out for 2 walks or whatever, as an example, rather than the 2 sessions and 3 walks. Okay, that's the minimum. That's my minimum effective dose. And I'm seeing this a lot now with, when I'm recording this, it's summer. And that's a key point is, people are away, they want to be a bit more relaxed about things. And that's cool. But I think if you keep a minimum effective dose into maybe maintain all that work that you've done, to build up your strength or build up your fitness or to maintain maybe a body fat or compositional goal that you had, and you're just maintaining things. Again, we can't take health out of the context of this either, so what's the minimum effective dose I need to just maintain my health? And that's where you stick with no matter how busy a week looks. And again, you might have to pull back on the length of a session or how much you can do, but the action or the habit remains the same, remains there. It doesn't get put by the wayside and we go back at it again in September. It's there as a little constant throughout. And then it makes it easier on the other end. Maybe if you do have want to move things on a little bit, you're not starting from quote unquote scratch again. You still have your baseline there and you're just building it up gradually from there. So I think a minimum effective dose is really an important thing when life gets busy. And I suppose make it, again, as easy as possible. And again, this stuff might all sound boring and common sense, but like it really is the stuff that's going to make you consistent and build that habit of consistency. Like make it as easy as possible to do. So whether that's you have stuff ready like before you go to the gym, it's all packed, it's ready to go. You don't have to think about it. And when you're doing your sessions each week, and you think ahead on a few meals maybe that you have them kind of pre-made, or you're not coming home after a long day starving and then you're like, oh, what am I going to eat? That you have some kind of a little bit of a forward thinking in place. Um, that removes this, I suppose, trying to make loads of decisions. That you have yourself kind of set up that those decisions are kind of pre-made for you. You just got to go and action them. So that can, especially at the start when there's a little bit of trying to get used to a new routine and a new setup. This is again comes back to doing the minimum effective dose, is making it easy that you can actually go through and get it done. Um, I think is really important too. And again, on the kind of a bit of forwards thinking is have a look at your week. You probably do this anyway with other stuff, so it doesn't have to really change a whole lot. It's just that if you have busy weeks or a busy month coming up, or we've got a lot of social events on, like again, as I said, summertime, prime example. Um, decide what you're going to do in advance, before it kind of happens, not when you're in the middle of it and you're trying to figure it out then. So like, what does, if you're away on holidays, yeah, I want to take the week off and I'm just going to walk and I'm just going to enjoy myself there. Cool. But then when you come back, yeah, I'm going to go back into my structure, ease myself back into training. And it doesn't have to be this big thing all the time when there's an interruption. And I hate to say it, but a big deal made about it. Like, just get on with it. Don't stop overthinking it and just get on with it. But it comes from having a little bit of a plan or a little bit of a thought process beforehand in place. And again, takes away that kind of, oh, I'm in the middle of this now, busy weekend. It's a Wednesday already and I haven't got anything done and there's no food shop done and there's this, that, or the other. It kind of brings the overwhelm about, oh, I'll start again on Monday and I don't have time to think about that. Whereas if you just give yourself a little bit of time at the start of the week, kind of have a look ahead and plan in that training or plan in that little bit of organizing around food or meals, um, kind of helps, as I said, take away that overwhelm in the middle of it. And I suppose look at your consistency in months, not weeks, even years, not weeks. Like as I said before, people will want to look at it in terms of a week or two, or um and not look at the bigger picture. Like zoom out, like what will things look like in 3 months, or compare these next 3 months to the last 3 months. Like that's, you're looking for long term. And again, as I said, it can fluctuate or change within that long term, more or less, whatever. But it needs to be taught more in a longer term capacity, not just in a couple of weeks, you know. Because again, I suppose that the goal with all this is health and fitness for long term, for life, for lifestyle. So you have to look at it with a broader uh mind frame on that. And I suppose the last thing, I think it's a big one, is I suppose the words we use or the mentality we have around this restarting. Oh, I'll start, or I'll wait till Monday. I'm a bit busy. I'll wait till I'm less busy, or I'll wait till January, or I'll wait till after the holiday. Or, well, then if you're always waiting, there's never really anything getting done. Like, as I said, like, stop making a big deal about it and just get on with it. Like, if you miss your Tuesday training session, well, then just do your Thursday's training session and just move on. I think people stick in the moment too long, and whereas if they just move on to the next one, there's no big deal. Um, and this restart mentality of time frames throughout the year. As I said, consistency happens all throughout the year. Doesn't matter about months, days, weeks, whatever. Consistency happens all the time. So like, there shouldn't be this different mentality when it comes to your training or your nutrition, or as I said, your health and lifestyle. It's a continuum. And I think if we stop worrying about this start stop and the gaps between sessions and I'll wait till I get back to it again on next week. You know, next week will come around and there'll be still no plan in place and still no organization done, and the cycle just continues. So then you're never getting into the flow of some sort of consistency. Um, so like just to wrap it up, I suppose like the consistency isn't something someone has versus somebody else. Like you've got to be actionable about it. You've got to try set things up and be flexible enough that you can do it when life gets busy and chaotic. And look, there'll be some weeks where look, it's just not feasible, and that is fine. That is life. But it's not making it's being able to come back to it because the habit and you feel good from doing it, and you feel good from having a consistent routine, and you can see the benefits of your training sessions can progress each week, your nutrition, you're starting to feel more energized and you're sleeping better maybe and mood is better and you know all in all, things feel just better and more balanced, and you're going after maybe, okay, cool, I want to go after these bigger things that maybe I put off that I didn't think I could do. And that's the stepping stone, and that's what consistency allows you to do. It opens up other opportunities to be able to go after other things. And like that, the goal really long term is doing it long term. Can I continue on this 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and beyond that down the line? And that's where really you're trying to get to, is that you're still doing it this time next year in some way, shape, or form. Um, and I think that's ultimately that's the proof of what consistency is. So hopefully you found that helpful and you can take some pointers away from it, some actionable stuff that you can start putting into practice. Again, feel free to contact me through Instagram. Always happy to have a chat. And also, if you would like to download my free resources, there'll be a link there for the Simple Strength Starter and Nutrition Baseline. Or message me on Instagram. I'll send them over. They're just little guides just to help maybe get you in the right frame of mind about starting and consistently doing. So until the next episode, chat again.